windows, to the walls. Let all these blessings fall. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
These crazy times, all we get to do now is go to the store. So yeah, I'm in the store, and I see this woman just yelling at the cashier about the line system. Y'all know the line system now. At every store, you have a master line that feeds out into little sublets. So I guess this woman hadn't been to the store in like 8 months. And she's going off on an innocent cashier. She's like, why do we have this system? Why can't I just go to the register that I want to go to? Let me talk to your manager now. Let me talk to your manager. And she was wearing a name tag from work. So I was like, please let it say Karen. Please, God, if you let this say Karen, I will believe in you forever. I left my cart in line just to go see what her name tag said. I got so close, I put my eye on it, I kid you not, it said Sharon. It said Sharon, dude! It was so bittersweet. God was like, I'm here, but not yet. You know what I mean? I was like, oh! Some of you are like, why are you even telling us this? Because Sharon is Karen. That's why.
Story time, but this one isn't about me. This is about a group of Marines who served in the Korean War at the Chosin Reservoir, otherwise known as the Frozen Chosin. The Battle of the Chosin Reservoir is known as one of the fiercest and coldest battles in U.S. Marine history. In 1950, for 17 days, 30,000 UN troops were deployed to Korea to fight the Chinese in the bitter cold and brutal terrain, where men had to endure severe frostbite, sleepless nights, and total mental physical exhaustions with temperatures that were below zero on snow-covered mountains and icy roads. Basically, if you stopped moving, you froze. And they were up against over 120,000 Chinese troops that basically had them surrounded at the Chosin Reservoir. The reason the Marines were there was to back up the South Korean forces as they were retreating as China sent massive numbers of troops to fight alongside with North Korea. It has been documented that over 6,000 troops had either died or went missing, and about 7,500 troops suffered from frostbite. And one of the men who served in the Korean War was my great-uncle Sergeant William Bentley, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment, where he was severely wounded and received the Silver Star. The reason I'm telling this story is because today is the Marine Corps' birthday, so with that said, happy birthday, Marines. Story time. One day I was flying back home to California from Texas after doing a DJ gig, and my buddy who was driving me to the airport was like, hey bro, you're going to a small airport, you don't need to be there till 20 minutes before it takes off. And I was like, that sounds great, because my flight's at 6:40 in the morning. So I get to the airport, we say our goodbyes, I get in, and there's literally no one in the airport. Not only that, there's no one behind the check-in counter. Weird. So I go to where you scan your bags in. The security guard looks at me. He's like, we're not letting anybody in without a ticket. And I'm like, well, there's no one at the check-in station. He's like, well, they shut down 30 minutes before the plane takes off. I'm like, well, what time is it? It's like, it's 6:22. So he calls someone to come over to the check-in station. And I go over there. I'm sitting there for like 15 minutes. I'm getting worried now. All of a sudden, this lady comes in through the door behind the counter, looks at me and says, we'll be right with you. We're having a plane take off right now. I'm like, well, I'm trying to get on that flight. But before I can say that, she slams the door behind her. And I end up missing my flight. Next flight doesn't leave till 11:53. That's 5 hours from now. And it only takes me about 3 hours to get home. So the same amount of time what it took me to get home from where I was in Texas, I ended up being stuck at the airport for 5 hours doing absolutely nothing.
I recently found out what my grandfather's favorite game of all time is. I always thought it was the poker. No, it was poker. And so he was like, Cam, let's play my favorite game. So I was like, all right, I'll go get the cards. He goes, no, my favorite game. I was like, first of all, why'd you say it like that? I was like, that was real ominous, okay? I didn't like that. And he goes, I want to play my favorite game. Turns out my grandfather's favorite game of all time is called Why I Hate Your Generation. Yeah. Some of you know the game. He's amazing. He's undefeated. He's never lost. He's great. He brings up good points. I can't even lie. There's good points. He's like, Cam, you young guys, you just don't get it. You don't understand what it was like. Back in my day, we used to be able to go down to the record store and get a record for a nickel. I was like, wow. You guys used to pay for your music? I was like, that's crazy, Pop. I don't know how y'all made it out.
The thing is, nobody believes that I can speak Chinese. Not even my own father, right? It's like we go out to eat together all the time. We go to restaurants as a family, okay? We have a nice dinner. My dad's always like, hey, Joe, why don't you go ahead and order something from the waitress? And I'm like, Dad, I think that's a terrible idea. He goes, do it anyway. When the waitress comes by, why don't you get us some dumplings? And I'm like, all right, here we go. So, the waitress comes by and I go, 服务员, 你好, 我们要一笼饺子. And the waitress looks me dead in the eyes and she goes, get the f*** out of here right now. So we're walking to the parking lot. My dad goes, see, Joe, you can't speak Chinese after all. And I go, Dad, you realize we're banned for life from that Vietnamese place, right?
Moment when you enter a room and forget why you went in there. What you say? Oh, that's right. I was getting chased by a serial killer.
My dad has no friends, and your dad has no friends. If you think your dad has friends, you're wrong. Your mom has friends, and they have husbands. Those are not your dad's friends. Why do none of our baby boomer dads have friends? I have a few theories. 1, they forgot. 2, they want to be alone. Dads want to be alone. I'm not a dad, but I observed one. And he would go into a room and he'd read about World War II. All of our dads are cramming for some World War II quiz show. And I can't wait to watch it. We're just going to change channels and see our dads winning $900,000 on Normandy trivia.
Of course, our TVs are now filled up with election stuff. I don't know why anyone would ever want to be the president of the United States. I wouldn't want that job in a million years. Can you imagine being awakened every morning like this? Problems. All kinds of problems.